at least until 2:50, right? Okay, but I figure you guys, how many people have been here all day? Nice, committed, look at that. So another thing that I started thinking about, and maybe why I don't want to be starting at 2:50, is if you've been to Lizzie Holfer's class about effective people and time blocking and scheduling, they say everybody is in the grumpiest, the worst possible mood at 2:55. All right, so we are 20 minutes away, and I will be talking at this point. That's why I was like, at least I'm past that 3 o'clock window, so hopefully everybody is not totally hating life at that moment. But it looks like we're in the storm. But I'm willing to fight through it if you guys are. Okay. I'm just going to start off with a little bit of a background about me and kind of where I am today and how I kind of got to this place that I am. So I have a background, and my background is in education. I am a former teacher, so I spent the better part of my early 20s and early 30s teaching both middle school and high school, and I think at this point in time, I think everybody knows about the whole education state of Arizona deal. Well, a lot of people look to supplement their income by finding other avenues. So for me, that was real estate, trying to supplement my income, make a little money. I got 3 small kids. Holy cow, shoot me in the face sometimes, right? I got a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old, right? They've been sick for about a month straight. My wife doesn't sleep, and she's crazy supportive, so I love her to death. But obviously, I want to make sure that I provide for those kids. And I want to make sure I pay for college, pay for braces, cell phone plans. I hear is really, anybody got kids in high school? All right, how's that cell phone plan working out? Oh my God, like that's horrible to me. So those are all things that I'm worried about. And I really went into real estate to start supplementing the income. And if you can start early, then you can pay for that college and be better prepared down the road. So getting into real estate, you realize that you don't know what you don't know. And legitimately, there is nobody really there to help you. So how much time do you start figuring out stuff, and you end up spending 10 hours figuring out something that if somebody had known it and know that you were struggling, they could probably walk you through in about 15 minutes. Like zip forms. Think about zip forms when the first time you were setting up that stuff. Right, all right, so it's a pain point, okay? So I look at it right away, and I spent all this time doing this, and there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be a way that we can give support to people. And not only that, but I think that like real estate is always changing. Every 6 months, every 12 months, things are always shifting, and there's always something new. So how do you keep up with that? And then when they're shifting and there's something new, is that a distraction? Or is it something that can push your business forward? Because if you go to that distraction, you just killed a month, 2 months, money, investment, hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars that you're investing into something. So could we have somebody that could kind of investigate that to help us out, to say what's really efficient and what's really useful? So all these things started to kind of rack in my brain, especially as a background in education, and I said, I feel like there's a void. Because 2 numbers really stood out to me. The first number was 6, the second number was 84. 6. When you start in real estate, people say, how much? You need 6 months of reserves. Right? Right? Anybody else heard that? You need 6 months of reserves. Well, how feasible is that you have 6 months of reserves that you got to plan your life and say you're not going to get a paycheck for 6 months?
I didn't hear that, but I've never heard that, but I'm new, so.
Okay, all right. So, right? So that's one of the things I looked at, and I said, that's not really feasible for a lot of it. I got 3 kids, I got a wife, I'm trying to figure it out. I need something a little bit faster than that. And then I also heard the number 84. 84% of realtors don't get to year 2.
I heard that.
That's crazy to me. So those 2 numbers jumped out at me, and it communicated to me that there's a massive void. Where you go to school, you do everything that you got there, you learn to pass a test, and then for that first year, you sink or swim. And to me, I looked at all those people that are sink or swimming, and how many are 84 out of 100 are sinking. And those are 84 people that tried to come into real estate to provide for their family and thought this was the opportunity that was going to be a resource for them, and they couldn't do it. That means a year later, they were back to the drawing board and had to go back through that struggle. That freaking sucks. Right? That's horrible. Yeah. So, again, there's that void. And then how many times are we doing the exact same thing that we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but the industry has changed so much, the market has shifted. Like right now, is the market shifting? Yeah. So can we get ahead of that curve? Can we try to figure some things out? Or there's got to be an easier way. So at that point in time, I came on with the Lawton team. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Lawton team. They do some significant transactions. And I devised a program. So I did two things. I devised this program called Elevated Ed. And what it was to kind of help provide that education resource. And when I look at this, I said there's three things that every agent needs to be focusing on, and all your activities needs to be in that house, in one of those three categories. The first one, lead generation, appointments, and closings. Everything else is rims and tint. It doesn't matter. It's not going to drive your business. It's not your engine. It's not your transmission. It's not totally necessary unless it falls in one of those categories. Because we get distracted, shiny objects all the time. And then within lead generation, I start back down to the base. How many lead generation sources are there? Freaking million, right?
1,000.
You're right, there's a million of them, right? But can you focus on a million things at one time? I can focus on one, maybe two, talk to my wife. She will confirm that I can't do a ton. So the first thing that I look at is you have to really own your SOI. That's a lead generation source. You have to own your open house. That's a lead generation source. And then Facebook, to me, can be a lead generation source, but I also think it supports those other two, your SOI and your open house. Would you agree? So own those three things. Everybody talks about all those pillars and stuff like that. I don't know what a pillar is. Just call this. Just focus on one of these three things and really own it. Then, at that point, we got to start nurturing our leads. And if we nurture those leads, whether it's 60 days, 30 days, 90 days, 2 years, we need to nurture those leads effectively. And ultimately, why are we nurturing those leads? Because we want to get to a freaking appointment. Right? Just give me an at-bat. Right? I'm nurturing you so I can have a conversation when you're ready to buy or sell. And that's where you have your buyer consultation and your listing appointment. And if you really hone in those two things, what's going to happen? You're going to earn a client. And then you need to understand the buying and selling process, and you're able to take them from client all the way to close. And if you do that effectively, what are you doing? You're building repeat referral business, which is a lead generation. Correct? Everything else doesn't matter. Does that simplify things? Like when all these things are going on, but if it doesn't align with these principles, it's rims and tint, and it doesn't matter. So own one of these categories and work your way through the process and make sure you own each process and then get to that point. You have to have good goals and you have to have time management. So my objective, when I created this program called Elevated Ed, was to create a course that had a module or a class on each one of those red circles. Everything else is rims and tint. This is the guts. This is what you really got to do. So one of those is listing appointments. And that's what I'm going to be going through today. So I typically this is probably about an hour and a half class that I go through, but I have an hour, so I kind of squeezed it in. I'm still trying to make sure I respect the 250 mark. So I'm not going to go typically through my entire PowerPoint the way I go through and present it. I am more specifically just going to say, just give you my step program. Like I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this. I brought my folder that I bring, and I'm going to walk through exactly how I shake that out a little bit. Does that make sense? So I'm going to pretend like you're with me. This is our listing appointment. Here's my pitch, kid.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that's exactly how I'm going to do it. What do you got?
Available online to print it?
Yes and no. Okay? I'm going to pass this around so you can get a look at it and you can see what it is. So is it online? Now, so let me, all right, hopefully she's not going to judge me. But I'm going to kind of start diving into it. We're going to see where it goes. All right, so this is what I have and what I created. So is it online? Yes, it's online, but I don't know if it's going to be accessible to everybody, but we can figure out some stuff. Okay, so this is what I have, and it's housed online. Like I said, so I developed Elevated Ed because I felt like there's a need for it. I'm a teacher. I want to help people kind of thing. And then I started teaching some classes, started doing some things. Along the way, I got picked up by the Lawton team a few years ago. The Lawton team, if you're not familiar, we're probably going to, on pace, we have probably about 100 agents in 4 different quadrants. Like we got Peoria, we got a team here, we got a team in Gilbert, we got a team out in Litchfield. And as they grew, they realized that quantity, they didn't want to sacrifice quality with quantity. So they needed an education platform. I think my education platform, my background in education as a teacher, kind of can help them get to where they want. They have a lot of newer agents that are part of their team. So we kind of aligned forces, and I am the director, I'm the head of agent training and development within the Lawton team. So this is our platform within the Lawton team, and these are all the courses that all our agents have access to. I've talked with George and saying that this is kind of my baby, Elevated Ed, and I don't want it to be solely committed to the Lawton team. I feel like it can do a lot of good for a lot of people, that 84 out of 100 that are struggling out there, or those new agents that are, or even experienced agents that are looking to refresh. You know, I want to make it more available. So I've kind of worked a deal where we're going to start exposing this platform out to the masses. Obviously, for cost. It's going to cost something. So it's online. But at this point, we're at the really early phases of doing that, and I'm planning on hopefully trying to launch it and make it available like in January. So that's where we're at. So if you're interested, make sure you sign in, because there's a couple things that hopefully I can keep you in the loop on, and as things come up, if you want to jump on it, you can jump on it. So what is it? Like I said, Elevated Ed, it's an online real estate education platform. Where is it? So I have a blog, which is really easy to follow. If you go to elevateded.com, you can check it out. I do a blog post once a week. I throw out a blog and some content. You can obviously face. I got a business page. I have an Instagram. It sucks. Like, I'm just going to be honest. Like I said, I'm just starting out trying to get this out there. I've been doing it with the Lawton team, who had 900. It was probably about 900 transactions this year. They did 675 last year. They did 456 the year before, and 553 or 353. So basically, they have an exponential curve going. And this is the education platform that I do. I do 2 classes on Wednesday. I do 2 classes on Thursday at each location. Like I was at Litchfield at 11:30, and I was in Peoria this morning at 9. So this is what I do, and I kind of walk through the whole course and the gamut. Also, I would also say, if you want to talk to one of our team leads, you could probably be like, hey, I'm interested in maybe joining your team, and every week I do a class. And they'd be like, hey, can I check out one of your classes? And that's probably a way that you could get another class without having to pay for anything, kind of thing. I'm just throwing it out there, because honestly, I just want to help. Like, I typically want to help people. I think this sucks for a lot of people if you end up having to tap out of it. It's not about the money necessarily. I think there's some real value in it. But follow this stuff so when it does become available, you can kind of jump on board right away. They think I should do it for a higher price point, and I'm going to try to keep it as reasonable as I can on a price point to go through every single course. It's probably about 12 to 15 hours of content that walks you through everything. Who is this guy? Founder, director, we talked about that. Next class, I do 1 class a week at Weimar. That's in the West Valley. So you can always go to that. If you follow me on that business page, or if you follow me on Facebook, just in general, Justin McLellan, you should be able to, I'll put stuff out there. My home group, I'm just gonna start, so I did a class in my home group like 2 years ago for a bunch of stuff. I think I'm gonna start to try to get back into that, to doing things. I set something up next week. I'm gonna be in Tempe. I think 2 weeks after that, I'm gonna be out in Litchfield. So I'm gonna try to do more to get more exposure to what we're doing, since now we're getting out there. And then the Lawton team, so for here, Scottsdale, this is the most convenient location for you. Every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, I do a class here. Thursday, 9 o'clock, class here. Nick Stairs, our team lead, but if you just dropped in, I think that'd be totally okay. Tomorrow I'm doing open house execution. So this listing, open house execution, how you walk through it, sign-in sheets, strategies, communication, everything. Now, I guess even more bells and whistles. So you got the one, and this is I want to throw a shout out to Lawyer's Title, Weimar. So the books that I gave to you, this is from Lawyer's Title. Okay.
Isn't they put it together?
They put it together for me. They sponsor me.
Okay.
So I make sure I want to throw them a bone if they're helping me out and getting this done. Like, this is a pretty cool book, right?
You have one of those?
Huh? I don't have any more. I'm sorry. I apologize. I know. Sorry. I didn't specifically print them out specifically for this. These are leftovers that I had from my last class at Weimar, so I just had them. And then this is my big book that basically has all my classes in it. So it's one workbook that you work all the way through. It's an 8-week course to go through it. Now, other things, if you're interested, because we're getting really close to when my go time. So this is the live version of it, what we're talking about, and we're going through listing presentations right here. So it's an online platform. Fire that up. Resume course, and what I kind of set up, and I think like crazy, if this was available when I started, oh my God, make my life easier. My goal is to do a couple things. So elevated goal, two things. One, I want to save you 1,000 hours. 1,000 hours. Like going through this entire process, as opposed to you figuring stuff out, you building your own stuff, and going through that whole thing, I think I can save you 1,000 hours in a year. Okay? Second thing is I want you, they talk about 6 months. Maybe you've heard that, maybe you haven't. Okay? I want you to get your first transaction under contract within the first 6 weeks. So I don't want to take it, 6 months, I want 6 weeks. So we do this cycle. Every 8 weeks we go through our cycle. In our last cycle, with a lot of team, I think we had 14, 15 agents that went through our cycle. Out of that, by the time we were done with the course, which is an 8-week course, 6 of them had something under contract. So I feel confident that if you do the procedures, you're going to be okay. Another thing about it is anything that I do in class, so I teach classes with ours, but it's a lot of information, right? So you could forget stuff, like a lot of stuff. So what I do is I break down all the classes into modules. So these modules are anywhere from, it's not working. Anyway, there we go. So basically, we're going to go over the seller questionnaire. And everything has a video content that goes along with it. So you hear it in person, but then you can always go back to it. And any of the video modules are anywhere from 8 to, right? Are anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes. So you don't have to know it all. You just got to know parts of it. And you don't have to watch the entire hour and a half. You can watch a 15-minute segment. Anybody have a team in here? Anybody? Starting your own team? Because that's another option, is trying to do a team thing, because I think this would be, they don't have to develop their own stuff. Another thing with it is I have agent resources. So a lot of things that I have in this book is items of value. So one of the things that we're talking about, listing presentation, what do you bring to the table for your listing presentation? Like, you got to bring stuff, right? So do you build your own stuff? Well, I've already built a ton of stuff, and under agent resources, which is right here, it says items of value and seller. And these are all a bunch of resources that I've already created that you could print off. They're downloadable, they're editable, they're not PDFs, they're Word documents, and you can basically change whatever you want to change to customize it to you, print it off, and then it's yours. Does that make sense? So I didn't put all of them there, I put some of the stuff in there, I just didn't put it all. But these are huge things that I think are valuable. You don't have to build. Like, what's an appraisal package look like? I got an example one. Right, but then even a little bit more in depth on it, kind of thing. And just, so those are different things that I have in there, and that's all part of the package.
Is this going to be a monthly fee, like membership, or is it going to be a one?
So if I'm being totally honest, I'm not really sure. This is not really my wheelhouse. What I'm thinking is it's going to be like you pay that one fee, you get access to anything. I change it, like I update things. So the way I look at it, I teach classes. So my job as agent director, I teach classes on Wednesdays and Thursdays. My goal every Monday and Tuesday is to add something of value to this. So every single Monday and Tuesday, I'm changing it. I also do all the video stuff, so you can watch it going through the course. And I want to update that once a year because everything changes. So just say like it's the baseline thing and you get it forever. Whatever's there, you always get it. I also think that I might do like a per module thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the per module.
You said you're going to update it every Monday and Tuesday?
I put new stuff in there every Monday and Tuesday. Like yesterday. So this week I did two things. Yesterday I put in scripts for door knocking and some strategies. I did 3 different scripts for door knocking and circle prospecting.
So I'm guessing that's just the goal, because I would think after a while you kind of...
Right. Yeah, I agree. But then at that point, maybe it's just refining or updating. Like I think listing presentation, as the market shifts, people need to be more aware about your listing presentation and about the expectation of time frame. Right, so what is that? So part of your listing presentation, this is something I was talking about with my team. Like George, actually I was talking to George yesterday about it, and he's saying, I think the general rule of thumb, and this might just be a pearl that you might have, anytime you're talking to a listing presentation, what's the expectation before you have to do maybe a reduction? Because everybody wants to shoot for that really high number. So what I've always said is it's a 10 to 10. So if you have 10 showings and don't get an offer, or if you have if you go 10 days and don't have an offer, or if you go have 10 showings and don't get an offer, there's either something wrong with the price point or the property. So you either lower the price point or upgrade the property. Does that make sense? So that 10 and 10 rule, and that's something that needs to be communicated, because if all of a sudden we're no longer dealing with bidding situations and people flying off the market in the first 5 days, well, you need to preface that with that. But the reality, 10 and 10, that's canned. Right? 10 and 10, I'm just giving you the 10 and 10 number. Right? Well, the reality of our data, it shows 14. If you have 14 showings and don't get an offer, that's when we need to make an adjustment. Most properties for us at the lot and team, and that's out of our, whatever, 2,000 properties that we've sold in the last couple years.
How many people?
So right now we're a little bit right under 100, like 90 to 100 right now, that wheelhouse. So we have a lot of traction and data that we look at. So about 14 before you need to make an adjustment.
And you guys have like a set amount for how many people have shown, or like
what do you
set
mean?
amount by dropping, you guys drop by 1,000 or 2,000, like how do you
I think all right, so kind of going with it, one of the things that we look at is, in order to make a significant impact, and again, we're a lot of Northwest Valley is a lot of it, whereas Scottsdale might be a different price point. We look at it to make a noticeable difference, probably about $5,000 to get a change.
Get it below the next tier.
Right, to that
Searches,
exactly.
yeah.
Like if you do it, like some people do that $100.
Yeah.
You just want to freshen it up,
Yeah.
which is okay, but it's not really going to make an impact on your price, on your activity. $5,000, then you might make an impact on activity. If it was a stretch for somebody else, well, now you need to bring in an entire influx of potential buyers.
Mm-hmm.
$5,000, now you're bringing an influx. Does that make sense? That's what I would say.
Do you practice role playing?
Yeah, we anything under the sun. Like if you want something, so I guess I really didn't want to. I don't want to come off as like a pitcher. I feel like I'm pitching, right? I don't want to. Like I'm pitching Elevated Ed because I totally dig it and I think it can help some people. And honestly, I've been giving it away for free for the last couple of years, because I don't really care. But people are like, you need to start selling this. Like it's not okay anymore. I'm like, whatever. So it is what it is. But what was your question again? I'm sorry. Role play. Yeah. Okay. So I guess our structure that we have is, so we have these. So I teach my class and there's a team meeting afterwards. Okay. At that point in time, we work on different pieces. So I guess I'm just gonna get into it. Whatever you guys want, I'll do. Okay. All right. Yeah. No, all right. I got a minute. So there's a triangle. I look at things in real estate that you have a triangle. Has anybody seen Inside Out? You got kids? Inside Out, right? What's the most powerful object in the universe? Do you remember this?
I forget.
It's a triangle, right? Because he's like the only kid, he's got his parents in the triangle, and then all of a sudden they have another kid, and it totally screws up everything. But the triangle, the family triangle, is the most important thing in the world. Correct? So I look at it as a triangle as well, where you say the lot and team are pieces that we put in. The first corner is education. Like you don't know what you don't know. If you're not really practicing, it's hard to really figure it out. So we're going to give you exactly what you need to do, and then all of a sudden it goes up to the peak is agent execution. Like here's the pieces, you got to start executing. How many people do stuff, how many people don't do stuff? I can give you everything in the world, only 20% are actually going to do something with it. Okay, so that's the piece. And then sometimes when you're trying to execute, you get stuck, right? Or you can't figure something out because it sucks. Like trying to figure out, you get nobody to go to kind of thing. So then that third piece is accountability. So education, execution, and accountability. So I'm responsible for the education piece. Agents are responsible for the execution. And then the final piece is accountability, which we have team leads. So I recommend that our agents schedule like a 20, 30-minute meeting with your team lead every single week. You set clear objectives. If you look in this book, this is me and my organization. Sorry. Some of you guys know me. Actually, nobody knows me here. You came to a class earlier, like a couple weeks ago. I put a checklist, and these are the check-ins after every class. This is your action item that you have to do. All right, we're all 1099. We don't have to do anything if we don't want to, but this is what you should be doing, and you should check in with your team lead. The team lead would be like, hey, how are you doing on this? So at the end of every class, so I would recommend at the end of listing appointment, you need to take your listing appointment and you need to deliver it to 3 individuals.
So what if you're not in the team yet?
Okay, if you're not on a team, do you have a mom?
I do.
Boom, that's who you're giving your listing appointment to.
Okay.
Right? Do you have a friend?
I do.
Boom, that's another one. There you go. Exactly, so that's
We're in
what
an unofficial team.
gotcha. Yeah, but that's what you do. Like I would say you need to go through your processes. to get it there. That's your next step, and then refine it. And then take whatever's in here and customize it to your own. This is my stuff. Like, I feel like I got a little bit of personality. This is how I go. This is how it is. You got to make it yours. You can't sell my stuff. You got to make it yours, and that's why I put it downloadable where it's editable. Because you should not be doing my stuff. It doesn't work for you. Like, it works for me. Like, if I try to be you, I'm going to suck. Okay? So that's kind of how I started. Go ahead.
Brooklyn would send us that if we answered?
Who?
Brooklyn, the lawyer? You said lawyer's show, right?
Yes.
She just wants a copy of.
This is my super
Not
big
that one, but
book.
like whatever you handed.
All right.
Now
This is my this is everything combined. This is like,
I just want listing presentation.
all right, listing presentations. So this is what I'll tell you. Email me. Did you get my email? Email me, and I will try to figure out a way to get something to you.
Okay.
Don't tell anybody.
Well, no one else is coming.
Don't
so,
tell anybody. It's on video, man. This is like locked in forever. Okay? All right. Anyway, so let's get started with the listing presentation. We're 3 minutes over. Okay? And I'm going to try to fly through it as best I can. Sorry I get distracted. If you have any comments or questions, like, let's go through it. Let's go ahead and shout them out, or what do you think about this, or what do you do? Like, everything I do, again, everything that I do, some of it's mine, but it's more of my twist on things. I work with a team that has some crazy overproducing people. We have an agent on our team that does over 100 transactions last year. We have probably 5 or 6 agents that did over 50 transactions last year. We probably have 12, 15 agents that are doing 20 plus transactions a year. Like, so this is not all mine. I basically steal it from them and I put it into a package. So some of it's mine, but it's with my twist. So it helps you out a little bit. All right, so one of the very first things that when I got into real estate, specifically with the Lawton team, I was talking to George, and I said, what are you looking for? What's the objectives and things that you really want to key on? And he said, I need something for listings. And I'm like, all right, and he was like really passionate, he was like all about it. And I'm like, well, why? And he said, you list to exist in this industry. Anybody ever heard that?
Yes.
Okay, yes. All right, you list to exist. All right, so when I look at that and I start thinking to myself, and this is me getting you bought in, just so we know, just so we're clear. If you look at it, what are the things that you do every single day to exist? Eat. Yes, I do that a lot. All right, what else?
Breathe.
Breathe. What else?
Sleep.
Sleep. What else? We're stumped. Okay, so I look at it, here, let me help you out, unstump you.
Water.
So, right, hydrate, okay? So I look at oxygen, water, food, activity, love, that's my sensitive side coming out. So, all right, so I look at this, and if we need these things, do we consciously think about doing these things?
No.
Do we pretty much know, hey, I'm hungry, or I gotta eat, or I have a conversation, I breathe, right? Do you have to think about breathing? How much time do you spend breathing every day? Absolutely. If you need to exist, you need oxygen to exist, you don't think about it, but you commit your entire day to it. If somebody gives you a statement, and we've all heard it, you list to exist, how much time and effort have you put into your listing presentation? Or do you wing it? Right. That's my point. And when we look at it, as this market starts to shift and it starts to become more competitive, with you have your all these people coming in, like your Zillow, like your Open Door, and your OfferPad coming in, is it becoming more competitive? Do you have to show your value position out front, and it better be crystal clear? And if it's not crystal clear, what's going to happen? You're going to become one of those 84. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want you going back to that drawing board. I want you providing for your kids and making sure we get that done. So that's what I think we need to make sure. We need to make sure that we're putting time, effort into our listing presentation. Okay? So this is kind of my overall objective of what we're trying to do. I want you getting confident and competent enough to execute. Yeah, come on in. To go ahead and execute your open door. Or not your open door, sorry. Your listing presentation. Sorry. On my mind. Yeah, don't judge me. All right. So these are all the things I'm going to do, and I'm going to stray away from the PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of, because I think the time is going to be a little bit of an issue, so we're going to figure it out. I'm going to go through my deal. The first thing that I got here is this. Boom. Seller questionnaire. Did anybody have that math teacher in high school that they said, hey, if you put $25 from every single paycheck, right now when you're 16, you'll be a millionaire? You ever had that guy? Did you like him or did you not like him?
No.
Ah, but was he wrong?
No.
No, he was not wrong. I actually talked to a financial planner 2 weeks ago, and she said, if you get 60 grand in the bank by the time you're 30, you will be a millionaire.
Huh? How does that?
By the time that's what she said.
Because it's a 30 of
In which
Yeah, so it's the compounding effect, right? It's the compounding effect. So if you invest early in your life, there's going to be that compounding effect that all of a sudden you're going to be a millionaire and rolling in it by the time you're retiring.
Will that keep up with
Everything. Now, so when I look at it from this perspective, I look at listing presentation as being the exact same thing. How many times do you get somebody on the phone that's calling you looking for something and potentially, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Is there any way we can get together? Sure. And you don't really go, like, when do you want to get together? You make no investment in that first phone call. Do you agree? You just say, hey, sure, when do you want to get together? What's work, Friday or Saturday? Okay, so I want you to shift your thinking. Shift your thinking and invest into the conversation. And I have a seller questionnaire that basically guides you through. I've actually updated this since. This is not the updated version, but I've dummy-proofed it. That actually gives me prompts to remember it. How many times are you driving around or you're doing random stuff and somebody calls you and be like, hey, I want, and you're like, oh, geez, I don't have anything going. So I have these printed out. I have them printed out in my car. I have them printed out in my office. I have them printed out in my house, by the kitchen, in the bedroom. I have them in different places. I have it on my desktop. Okay? There you go. Hold on. Wait for it. I have it on my desktop. Everything gets so screwed up. So right here, seller questionnaire. So I can immediately go to it anytime I want. Also, I made this so it's fillable. So when you're looking at it, you're like, Justin McLellan. That's how you spell my last name. Okay? But I have it fillable so I can go through the entire process. Does that make sense? And I can just save it, and I save it into a file. How many times do you lose papers? All the freaking time. You got a million stuff going on. What's the file it goes in? Well, guess what? Online, if I go ahead and put this as a fillable field, I then save it to the client file. And I can always refer to it anytime I want. Fair enough? So I'll just go through it on this. So the first thing I do with the first page is I go ahead and I set up just general information. Okay? So you can type in the stuff, phone numbers, emails. The first version of this, I only had one place for a phone number and one email. That was dumb. Because, do you need one phone number or do you need both people's phone number? Yes, and then all of a sudden you're automatically minimizing? Stupid. So I changed that. Also, is it important to know where the lead's coming from? If it's a referral, do you want to have that? Absolutely. Who referred me? And you go ahead and type in the name. So then I start thinking about it and I'd be like, all right, this is my money question. You want to write this down somewhere. Client motivation. So if they get on the phone and you're, hey, can we get together and think about selling my house? Oh, that's awesome. What's inspiring you to move? Why are you moving? Is that judgy? Really? Okay. Well, why are you moving? What are you looking for? What's inspiring you to move? Is that totally open-ended? It could go anywhere. I love that freaking question. And the reason why, when you say, what's inspiring you to move, a good agent will ask like 2 follow-up questions. A great agent, 5, 10 follow-up questions. What's inspiring you? We're just looking for a new neighbor. I don't know if the school's what we want. Oh, so you have some kids? How old are they? And then every time you ask a question, is that an opportunity to make a connection? They're like, I have some kids. Yeah, so what are you looking for in the school? What ages are they at? The high school. Or what? You can just start asking questions about that. I don't care about the property. I care about the person. And I want to understand the person because I understand that Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad, those big high-profile agents, I understand all those people are about the transaction. I want to be about the relationship. That's my priority. The relationship, I'm building repeat referral on this phone call. Because I care about the relationship. This is an investment of time. They're going to spend probably roughly 40 hours with you. Okay? So if they're going to spend that time with you, you're handling a large transaction, do they want to know that you're really invested into their transaction, the numbers, or do they want to know they're invested into what you want and you need in your life? So that's where I start here. So everything on this first page is all about people. So what's inspiring you to move? And then I start drilling down to these different things. As I start drilling down and I start making connections about what's going on, I start looking at it and saying, well, identifying some pain points. So I try to identify pain points. Time, money, stress are all big pain points that we're looking at. Communication pain point. Like I need to know what's going on. I'm really nervous about what's going on. Financial. Those are all things I'm starting to get to. But I look at here and I start talking about time frame. All right, so this is what you're looking for. You want to sell. If you're in your dream world, where would you want to be? Like how soon were you looking to make this move? So after I have their inspiration, I see the motivation. Well, school's an issue, then it's going to come up here. So those are things that I kind of jump into. Also, when you're talking to people, do you have time to write? Anybody write in all caps? All caps? I'm in all caps. Poor decision. It takes me forever to write anything, right? Why can't I go cursive? They're not even teaching that in schools anymore. But it takes me forever to write stuff, so that's why I put boxes. So you just check the boxes. It's easy to fly through, and you can focus on the conversation, you can focus on listening. So that's what I have here. Relocation goals, so that's why I put the crossroads, and any client previous experience. They're like, how'd you find the house? And I'm like, hey, who'd you work with last time? Because I don't want to bring up the other agent. I'm like, how'd you find the neighborhood you're in now? See what happens, and if they had a horrible experience, be like, oh, the other guy, he was horrible. I'm like, oh, that's a shame. You had a bad experience with that. Like, what was so bad about it? You know, because I want to know what they did, and then as they do it, I can go ahead and check whatever their stress is, so I make sure that they're hypersensitive to it, so how can I address it? Does that make sense? Okay, so I do that. Client personality. Anybody familiar with the DISC profile? Right? So we all understand the DISC profile. So another thing for me is I want to start identifying this. As I'm asking all these questions and doing all these things, am I starting to figure out who they are? Right. Do I want to go back to that? Am I going to think about that as I prepare for my listing presentation? Yes, because it's all about how they receive information, not how I like to communicate. It's how they receive it. So what I do is I put the DISC profile in, and I put them in categories. And these categories align with the letters. So I can just check the boxes as I see that it's fit. So this is for me to be really, really efficient in the conversation so I can focus on what they're saying. And I just kind of evaluate as I go through. And this is the bottom, this is just for me. I never pass this out or I don't email this to anybody. By the way, I had somebody on our team did that and was like, that's horrible because this decision maker one could really rub some people the wrong way. But do you also want to find out who the decision maker is? Like if you can find that out, is it husband, is it wife? If you can figure that out, is it the parents that are throwing some cash at the deal? Like you want to know those things, so this is where I start to figure those things out. Now, sometimes we forget things, right? This keeps me in line. Okay? I was talking to an agent who's done like 30, 40 transactions, and I said, role-playing, scripting. So we go through it, I said, hey, treat me like a buyer, I want to hear exactly how you do it. And he didn't ask anything about time frame. Is that a big deal when you're selling a house, is time frame? Absolutely, too. He's been doing this for 15 years, he does 40 transactions a year. We get caught up in what we're doing, it's easy to miss something. This walks me exactly through what I need. Fair enough? So I think that's helpful. Now, so this is all about the person. I do that intentionally, saying the first page is all about the person. The second page is all about the property. Okay? Person's first, property second. Now, with the property, can you typically find anything you need online?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find a ton of stuff online. So make sure you're looking at that, but can all these questions kind of prompt you to have more questions?
Yes.
They're like, 5-bedroom, wow, that's awesome. So you had 4 kids? Oh, they're all moving out, so we're down. So it gives you opportunity to have more of that relationship that you're looking for. I use that for this purpose, more specifically. Amenities that the property has, and then this is where I ask the question, is there anything that might have an impact on the value? Have you done any upgrades? Did you do them personally? Wow, that's awesome. And I'm asking those questions because as I get those questions, if they did them personally, are they going to be more invested?
Yeah.
Yes. All of a sudden, that valuation, they're going to be like, should be $5 grand. They're going to say, that's 20 grand. I put freaking months of work into that bad boy. That looks sharp. Okay? So you want to make sure you understand that because that's also a potential objection that you're going to have to handle when you're coming out the listing appointment. Target price point. Is that good to know? So have you been looking around at all? Do you have an idea what you're thinking your house might be worth? Well, this estimate says $425. I want to know that. But if you don't ask this question, are you going to have that? Like here, you have to target that. I want to know this estimate. Are they familiar with Zillow? I just sold a client's property, and they're like, Zillow? Shut up. You've got to be kidding me. But does that help me going in that I know I'm going to have to bring a lot of education to the table? So I do that, and then do you have financial needs? Do you have to get something? Do you know how much you owe on the home? Right? Those are all things that I'm looking for. Price point. Are you flexible? Do you have any wiggle room? Is that your target, but you have some wiggle room on that? Or if your time frame, what's the biggest motivation for you? Is it the time frame or is it the financial piece? Like, do we have some room there? So those are things that I look for. And then loan amount, current loan second, monthly pay. This sometimes is for our ISAs that we have and other people that we work with. So it's kind of got some dual purpose there. So I throw that in HOA. Just to know also, if I'm going to represent them on the sell side, I might also represent them on the buy side. So it helps me decide how much they can afford, kind of thing. So does that help you out at all? So that's the first thing that I do. Now, I want you to think back. Let's go back to high school, right? Hopefully for some of us that was not our peak, but it's okay. Now, when we go back to high school, I want you to start thinking about it and say, so I used to teach high school. Sometimes when I got low on supplies, right, like Kleenex. Like right now, kids are going through Kleenex like it's their job. Taking tissue like a nun takes communion. Okay? Now, what they're doing at this point, I need more Kleenex, so what I would do is I'd say, hey, I'm going to let anybody bring a box of Kleenex in, and you can write whatever you want for the test on that box. How much do you think those high school, say it's on a final, and a kid's got a 58%. He's about to fail. Senior.
Which school?
Right. How much is he writing on that Kleenex box?
Amazing.
And how much of a Kleenex box is he getting? Is he getting the biggest, and he's writing everything on it, because that's his cheat sheet to success. That means he can pass the class, graduate high school, live life. Live the dream. Okay? This is your cheat sheet for your listing presentation. Everything that you put on this document allows you to prepare properly to meet the needs of your client. If you just go in and you make that initial phone call and you're like, hey, when do you want to meet? Tomorrow or the next day? You're going in totally cold. That phone call allows you to build your cheat sheet. If you don't want that cheat sheet, understand if there's 3 other people you're going against, who's going to be the most prepared? This allows me to be the most prepared. Fair enough?
No.
Okay. Now, the next thing that I look at with this is once I go to this, the action steps that I make. So this is me kind of going away from it. 2 things that I do is I tell them, I'm like, all right, great, we're going to set up a time, we're going to meet. I'm going to send you 2 emails. The first email that I'm going to give you is going to be a broad range of comps, because I'm trying to get familiar with your area, but I want you to be on the same page and not come in totally blind. So I'm going to do a broad range of comps for the area. This by no means is going to be a ton of research, it's just giving you general activity. And that's going to be 10 to 15 properties that meet the same parameters that your property does. Fair enough? And that's just to get some market knowledge. I'm trying to get them market knowledge. That's it. That's the first email that you can expect. The second email that you can expect from me is I think we'll probably get to talking a little bit. I'm a little bit of a talker, and I don't want to miss. And I'm going to probably ask a lot of questions about you and your needs and things like that, but I want to make sure that you're properly informed. So what we've created is a video that kind of talks about the different platforms and the different things that we're going to use to market and make sure we maximize your property, sell it for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. So I'm just going to send you the video. It's a 6-minute video, but it'll give you a ton of information. And I send those 2 emails. Does that make sense? Now, what's that video look like? I'm not going to show you the whole thing because I think they might get mad at me, but I'll show you the intro part of it, I think. If I can find it. There it is. If it works.
Hi, it's George Lawton with the Lawton team. Just want to send you a quick little video on why thousands of Phoenix area families chosen the Lawton team to assist them in the sale or purchase of their homes. Our goal is to make the selling process as close as possible. As you not know, many people working.
So basically, it walks you through the whole process. It's 6-minute, goes through some things. Talks about how we target market and different things like that, our online platforms, back end, everything that we do to kind of market it out there. It's 6 minutes. We throw it out through BombBomb, if you're familiar with BombBomb, which you can check out people's open rate and see how long they view it. Typically, videos are only watched for about a minute. This typically gets anywhere to that 3 or 4 minutes before people actually drop off. But also knowing that going in, is that important? Like if they watch the whole freaking video, they're like, okay, they want information. And that can help me prepare better, but because I have the analytics and the data to look at it, I know what I'm doing. That's why I send these things. That's why I have the DISC profile, so I know how to communicate what I need to communicate to. Fair enough? So those 2 things come up. We set the appointment. We're locked and loaded. Also, I have value adds. So when I look at value adds, I have a folder of all those value adds that I have. That's not even a good one. Here it is, value adds. So these are a bunch of things that I have as values. You can't really see that, sorry. Does that help you out? Maybe it doesn't really. Anyway, so these are some of the value adds that I have. How many times do you want to look at it and say, holy cow, I got a listing appointment tomorrow. These are all the things I got to bring to the table, and you're just frantically trying to create something. I hate that. So what I do instead is I create everything, and I create them as samples. After I create them once, I have them as samples, and then I can have them and print them off anytime I need them. So one of our jobs, I think a lot of agents do that deposit dump, and they just like, bleh, and they throw everything under the sun. And that's not our job. Our job is to minimize stress, not to give them a million things to think about. So I need to identify the pain points, identify the struggles, pinpoint accurately, and give them what they need. I don't want to give them my 27 items of value. I want to give them the 3 things that they need most. Fair enough? This allows me to jump into it, whether it's financial, whether it's communication, whether it's timeline. Those are all things that I need to have. Whether it's deferred maintenance. Do I have resources for them? That's what I'm looking for. Fair enough? All right. Am I saying fair enough too much? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Fair enough. Awesome. All right. So I've done that, and then I go to the listing appointment. So I'm going to try to stray away from that. I go to the listing appointment. I'm prepped. I'm ready to go. What do you do as you go up to your listing appointment? Anybody have a listing currently? So what'd you do when you got the listing? Like, what'd you go? When you went to the appointment, how'd you go up? What'd you find? Oh, I'm excited.
Well, it almost doesn't apply because I knew I was getting the listing back in May. So.
All right. So when you go up to a listing that you don't know that you got in the bag, what do you do? Okay, all right, good thing you're here. We'll get you.
Sorry,
No.
I guess mine involved in referrals, so I didn't have to work that hard.
Nice, I love that. No shame in that. Don't say sorry. You're like, good for you.
I'm like,
What do you
do
got?
I make a presentation? Oh,
Same
good.
thing.
What I do is I want to get together first before you go to this. I tell them I need to see the house because that's very important for your comps and how you're gonna show them, the comparables. To look at the house and I write the details. I write kind of short visit, and then I make another appointment
to actually hammer it home. Okay, so I just tried to do it all in one, which maybe that's too much. But I think I love that, and I think depending on price point too, and sometimes I'll go through my listing presentation and I feel like there's too many variables that I wasn't comfortable with. I'm like, you know what, I need to go back and do a little more homework on this. There were some things that I wasn't quite anticipating, so let me go ahead and crunch some more numbers, really do some due diligence, and come back at it. So I'll do that kind of thing, but jumping out ahead of time is definitely something. Anybody else? Setting up? Because I think we can all learn from everybody else too. You know what I mean? Like, we all got experiences. So, all right, so this is what I do. So you drive up, you do all your research, you get everything in, and you really hone it in. I guess when I start to research things that I look for is I gave them the broad range of comps, but that's not always, that's just like a 15-minute search, man. I throw it out there, here you go, kind of thing, just getting some information. I don't put a ton of time and effort, but then I go back to the drawing board. And what I try to do is I really try to refine everything, and when I refine it, I try to identify what is the top-of-the-line property in that area that's a comp, and what's that price point. And after I do that, I want to find the absolute garbage property in that area. Right? So I find the very, very top of the market, and I find the very, very bottom of the market.
How does yours relate?
Yeah, right there. Okay, so I have the top and the bottom, and then I want to find like that median price point. So sometimes it's right in the middle, and sometimes it's a little higher, a little bit lower, wherever we're looking at. So I have those 3 price points that I've created in my mind, and I refined a comp list to it, and I create a new one. I might add properties, I might subtract properties, and when I go in, I give them a list of maybe like 8 properties. But in my mind, I'm only thinking about 3. The other 5 are just to go so they have more information, and they can kind of evaluate, and we can kind of walk through. I also create a net sheet that goes with each one of those price points. So some people bring in a net sheet about where they ballpark think or what their target price point is what it is. I don't do that. I do the bottom of the market, I do the top of the market, and that median price point that I've established, and say where we fall in. Sometimes I'll do that. Other times I might do a 10 grand, 20 grand increment. But I always do 3. And the reason why is if you do 3 is because they can extrapolate what that adjustment would be if it's a different price point on their own. Fair enough? Does anybody have a Lawyer's Title app? Okay, Lawyer's Title app is an app that I would do that in. I still have the old one because the old one is printable, and sometimes I struggle with the other one. So it looks like this. And I try to get that loan balance, so you can pass that around, check it out, see what you got. I'll pass all this around so that you get through it. So that's how I work that. Fair enough? And then I go to the property. A couple things I do outside the property. I give myself words of affirmation. Like, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. Kind of smart. Right? I do. All right, but I do it differently. What do you got?
The question.
Yeah.
So when you go, let's say that you only met the people once, accounts,
Mhm.
and you need to find out the balance, the interest rate to give them the net sheet, right? So you bring your computer with you. Do you use an iPad or do you use
I use my laptop, and I'll still do it. I just won't extrapolate their loan balance. I say just subtract your loan balance off of it, off of each one. Yeah, that's how I work that. So once I've done, so I give that words of affirmation, but what I do, and I generally believe this, and if you don't generally believe this, then you got to step up your game to get it there. All right? I truly, honestly believe that I can do the best job. I'm sorry, I know we're in a room full of realtors. I feel like I can do the best job for these people. All right? I feel like I care more than anybody else is gonna care, and I feel like I have the systems in place, and I feel like I get the support through my team that nobody else is gonna be able to do what I can do, and it's my responsibility to inform the client of that. And if I lose a listing, it's because I didn't do my job and I feel like I let them down. So I prep myself with that. I'm like, come on, you got to get it. You got to earn it for them. Like, you got to make them see how important you are to them, because I know you can do the best job for them. Like, that's what I do, kind of thing. Walk up. I also make sure I have a hot spot. Like, I don't want to be a taker. I never want to be a taker. I don't even want to take their Wi-Fi. I don't want to make them do anything. I don't want them to make them look for their Wi-Fi password. Like, I don't want to do that. My job is to serve them. They're paying us a very healthy fee. They don't lift a finger if I can help it. Okay? So I start with that mentality going in, and that really sets the tone for me. Whatever you need, I got it. So then I go in, always start with a compliment. Love the area. Wow, we have great opportunities here. Firm handshake, I'm excited. I'm always an excited person. So it helps me. I think it helps. I'm not a Debbie Downer. Pissy Patty, get away. Okay? So those are things that I'm going to kind of fire up, go through this. So those are things that I bring to the table. When I walk in, the next thing I do is what? Identify the office. Where's the office? Kitchen. Most often it's the kitchen, right? I think 95% of all major family decisions are made, right? Unless you're yelling at a kid, be like, you're grounded for the next year. You're off to boarding school. Okay? And then I start going through my presentation. Now, when I go through my presentation, I have base items of value that everybody gets. Okay? So I put a few of those things in here. So I give them a seller's guide. Everybody have some lame, like, general seller's guide?
Yeah.
Right? Looks like this. Like, nice
Is
and
Laura
fancy.
like them?
I don't know. I think we made this as a team. So this is what our team creates. We got this. I don't touch on it at all. I bring it because I want to cover it. I want to check every box. Like, if you're a first-time home buyer and you have no idea what you're doing, you just like looking through fancy stuff, here you go, man. And I'll even throw it out like that. I'm like, hey, if you're a first-time home buyer, you're not really sure, you want to see some fancy stuff, this is my bells. This is rims and tint, man. Look at it. It's not going to run the engine. This is rims and tint. But to me, this seems really impersonal. This is a $300,000, $500,000, $1 million property, and I want to be personal. So what I did, and this is me just being a little overkill, I created my own seller's guide. Okay? And when I created my own seller's guide, I've debated on whether I want to make it look like this. Can I make it look like this? Yeah, sure. I can make it look, get the paper, get everything dialed in, make it look like that. This is personal to me. This makes me feel personal. So I've debated, gone back and forth. It's been effective for me in going through my listing presentations. And when I do it, so because I'm part of the team, and this is me walking through it. So you're at my kitchen table, we're walking through it. Okay? First thing, I'm part of the team. What's that mean to you? It means that these people, Jen and George, and the only reason why I'm introducing you to is because these are people that I know and I care about. And they are the foundation of what we've built. I've actually known George for about 20 years. He was in my wedding, so he's a cool guy. I would take a bullet for George. He's the type of person that would help you no matter what. No matter what. I ask him for something, he's crazy busy, boom, shoots me a text and whatever I need, whenever I need it. And that's the mentality that our team is based on. And the reason why I'm telling you that, this is the foundation of who they are, and everybody that you see in this picture is part of that foundation, and that's the culture that we have. Those people are going to be serving you, and I'm a result of one of those people. Like, I try to defer, like I want to be humble, I want to give credit to the people that give me credit. So I'm going to be the point man for you on everything. I'm your go-to. However, there are some people that give me huge supports. Absolutely huge supports are going to be working for your home to make sure it sells. These are the people, because I think it's really important that we put a face and we give credit to those people that are working for us, even though you'll probably never see them, never talk to them, never have anything. So the first person is Shelby Mazza. Shelby Mazza is freaking unbelievable. I know where I was when I was in my early 20s, and it's not anywhere near what she is. She's our marketing coordinator, and all the platforms that your property is going to get marketed on, and all the templates that we do, this kid freaking dialed in and is amazing. She manages all our Facebook campaigns, and she does everything to make sure your property gets the maximum exposure, which is going to make sure that you get the maximum dollars in the shortest amount of time. That's this guy, or kid, girl, awesome, show, unbelievable. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then we're going to get something. We're going to get your contract, and we're going to put your property under. It's going to become a listing. Now, I'm going to do the appointment and everything. You're only going to talk to me. This is Valerie. Valerie is our listing coordinator, and what she basically does is she dots all the I's, crosses all the T's to make sure everything gets done in a logical, sequential format, and she keeps everybody else accountable to make sure your property gets listed seamlessly. Okay, that's Valerie. You'll probably never hear from her, but know that she cares a lot about your property, and she's working it. She's hustling. And if anybody gets out of line, she will slap them. Right? She's that woman. Like, we all know that lady. Like, oh, do not cross Valerie. Right? So I try to put a personality. You can see what I'm kind of doing. And then I said, here's Lisa Dara. I described Lisa Dara. She's our transaction coordinator. So we're going to go on listing, and then we're going to get an offer. And once we get an offer, I'm the point man on everything, but she's going to support me. Lisa is everybody's mom. Do we all know that one kid that had that mom in the neighborhood that did anything and everything? Who always had those who always had orange slices? Lisa Dara. Okay? So the same way, she's always out there looking out for everybody's best interest. She really helps people out in that way. And Candace First is another transaction coordinator. She does some of more our high-profile properties, and she is freaking a machine. Like, talk about meticulous, that is her. So I said, you may be getting an email every now and again from one of these people at some point in time, but I just want to make sure you put a face with the name. Because I look at it and say, for us, one of the big things is we have a power of a team. And I look at that and say, I'm the point person, but you have all these other people that support you that are going to make sure this thing goes seamlessly as possible to maximize your dollars. Does that make sense? And I want to make sure I introduce that. So once I go from there, I said, so when I was thinking about this whole real estate thing, I started thinking, I said, what are the major issues that people have? Like the primary concerns that they have. So there's three things that I look at that I want to make sure I address. First one is time, second one is money, and third one is stress. Like, that's my job. That's my focus. That's my purpose with you. So time. Average days on market. Anybody know what the average days on market are right now?
60, 56, 60.
So it's 68. Well, this is according to like 3 months ago. I update this every quarter with the numbers, but last quarter it was at 68 days. Lot and team average is 39. So, right, I'm looking to save you time. Are you okay saving a month of your life out of this point of stress and listing and showing properties left and right? Are you okay saving a month? Because that's what we're trying to do. And that our statistics show that. And then I look at it and say, money. We want to save you money, right? Do you know on this market right now, and this is shifting a little bit obviously, but last quarter, average percentage of list price. Does anybody know what the industry average was last quarter?
Percentage?
Yeah.
97.
90, really close. 96.3. So average percentage of list price was 96.3. Lot and team, we got 99.2. Right, so we're saving you time, and we're going to make sure we get as close to that list price as possible. So we're shortening the time, maximizing your dollars, and then stress. How can we really talk about stress? Like, can we put a quantitative number on stress? No, everybody's different. But I know I've gotten to talk to you. I hear some of your pain points, and we've gotten to help a lot of families out. And if you want to check out our Zillow reviews, you can see how we've helped out. We have 537 Zillow reviews. So people, 5-star reviews. So might be something to look at. You know, it's up to you. But just know that I'm committed, and hopefully I'm communicating that as I walk the property and did all those things. And then I go through here and I throw this number. I throw this out. So all those things we've been able to do effectively, and I show our growth through year by year. I said these numbers don't mean anything to you, right? If you don't know anything about real estate, does 900 transactions a year mean anything to you? No, it doesn't. And I say that. This means absolutely nothing to you, but what I think does mean something is the fact that that number's growing every year, consistently, exponentially, you could even say. I said, so whatever we're doing, we're learning the systems and we're working the systems and we're benefiting a lot of freaking families. Like, let me help you. Let me make sure I'm here to help you. Fair enough? So I look at that, and then I say, but how do exactly we do it? So there's 4 things that we do, and I show this page. And this is where I go internet buzz, social media buzz, team buzz, and community buzz. So those are the 4 focuses that we have that we focus on each and every day. Okay? So internet buzz. Everybody does internet, right? And this is where I'll bring up the RPR. Everybody use RPR? Anybody use RPR? So this is where I use RPR, but I don't use everything in RPR. I don't print it out. I just bring it up on my laptop, and I go to the demographics. I just show them, boom, this is demographics, and people in your area, and I'll do my research around the area, what occupations, what's the price point, what's the income level, all that type of stuff, and I say, this is what I'm going to target. All these things, so when I get the internet, I'm not going to do I will do the shotgun approach. I'm just going to throw it out and see if we get something, but I'm also going to be laser-like focused. These are the demographic points that I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to target marketing through my Facebook ads and all those campaigns. I'll even walk them through it and say, this is this. Does that make sense? But a lot of people do that, right? Is that a difference maker? I don't know, do a lot of people do that? Maybe not, I don't know. Okay, all right, so now I'm pitching it, right? So maybe I do more than the other guy does. Maybe I've talked about it more, and maybe I've talked about the analytics and how granular Facebook can become, and how can you really target it. Maybe somebody else didn't go into that. Am I separating myself now? Okay, so that's something I look at. Then the next thing that I look at is social media buzz, and that's where I'll really dive into the Facebook campaigns and kind of getting into it and what our budget is. Standard budget, and I'll just throw this out there, standard budget for our team and communicate that, is they get $30 on a Facebook campaign for coming soon. They get $30 for just active and $30 for open house. And after about a month, if we haven't gotten some serious traction on it and we've hit we need to refresh a little bit, we'll throw another $30 on it. So you can communicate that, and this is our strategic plan that clearly has worked for 900 families this year, right? So this is how we work that. And then I go into team buzz. So that's a huge benefit. So anybody representing a buyer in here? How many buyers you got? 2? A couple buyers? A couple more? All right, so we have a team of almost 100 agents. Every agent is representing buyers. I'm going to communicate your needs or what's happening with your house out to all those people. And all those 100 people represent tons of people that are actively looking for homes. Trust me, I get access to a lot of people. I go to meetings, we have team classes, we do all that kind of stuff. So that's a benefit that I give, that immediately we have intrinsic interest to me helping them out because I know them personally. It's not some random agent on the MLS that we're calling. Fair enough? And then the last one is community buzz. This is a big one. So as I go through this, can this be kind of like I'm talking a lot, right? But I also want to give some visuals. So I created a PowerPoint that goes with this step by step. Some presentation. And I'll kind of show it. Okay, seller presentation. So this is everything that I just talked about. Would you agree? But it's in a PowerPoint form. So as I'm talking about it, I'm flipping through the pages, but I'm also flipping through the PowerPoint. Time, money, stress, reviews. So we have to update that. 537 as of yesterday, I think. The families, and then strategy, creating the buzz. So this is getting more visually pleasing. So looking at them, not just talking at them, and I'm writing stuff in there to make it a little more interactive. So I'm working on different functions and different people that interest different things. If you want the text, if you want the visual, you want different things, audio, I've got it all. That's my teaching background, so I just try to make sure I hit everything that goes into it. Reach out to 88er. So, and then this is the community buzz. So we have a lot in team community. Does anybody use Boomtown in here as your CRM? Okay, so we use Boomtown, and I'll bring this up, and this is like
The entire team?
this is like a game changer. This is where I'm like, sorry, anybody else that you met before, do you want me to call the next guy because he's probably not going to make it anymore? Like, I can do that for you. You don't have to do that guy. I'll let him know that I took it. Like, we're good. So I've gone through the RPR, I've talked about the analytics, I've talked about that kind of detailed demographic of what you're looking at, and I said, listen, we have Boomtown as our CRM, and what that does is it goes through and creates tons of analytics. It's a database that has almost 80,000 people in it that we are constantly adding. Last month, I think we had over 2,100 new entries into our database. So it's always growing, living, changing as we go through it. This is what it looks like. This means absolutely nothing to you, right? So when you look at it, the system grades every single one of our buyers. So I can punch in your property, your square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, all the amenities you got, and this guy, D right here, she's a 99% fit to your property. And once we get out of here tomorrow, you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to call D. Say, how you doing? Where you at? Actually, I'm not going to call D. because that would be infringing on one of my team
Yeah.
leads. Okay, but what I'm going to do, all right, I'm not blowing that up. But what I am going to do is I'm going to send out an email to Tiffany. And I'm going to say, hey, Tiffany, and I said, I've got a listing that matches your buyer.
And this is just within the Lawton team.
Just within Lawton team. Yeah. So I go ahead and I email her, and I go ahead and I put down Dee's name, and I put her phone number, so it makes it real easy for everybody. I do all the work, and all she has to do is pick up the phone call. Now, that's a value to my client, selling, but it's also a value to her buyer. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? And then we all start to benefit from that process. So I have that. And I walk through this. I said, now this is a watch. Now what's a watch mean? Watch means that they're not looking to buy anytime soon. It's probably like 6 or 8 months, so they may not be our target. But if you go down here, Susan over here, 96%, and she's a hot. That means that she's looking to buy in the next 30 days. So I'm definitely going to get Brittany. I'm going to
This
start
is
off.
unique to you and the Lawton team.
Correct.
Unless you're on a big team, it doesn't
Right.
benefit to market.
Right. It's a different angle. I
Looking
agree.
To your database. though.
Yeah, so you can do the exact same thing to
Yeah.
your buyers and your people in your sphere. These are people that I know that are in this, your Facebook friend list. Like, you can leverage anybody that you have as far as your sphere or what is your database and start doing the same type of things.
Right.
Now, I think this is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Yes,
I feel
absolutely.
it.
And I do think it's a bit of a difference maker. So I think it's important to do this. Now, Boomtown, my understanding is about $1,500 a month to buy. That's my understanding, which is a pretty healthy price tag if you're an independent agent. I get that. But it's a powerful tool. Okay. So I guess I won't hover too much on that.
Who's managing the leads at Boomtown? One person or?
So the way it works with us is, so each one of these, so every lead comes in, and as they come in, they're assigned to different agents. Does that make sense? Now, and if I'm really trying to hammer it home and hit it home within Boomtown, what I look at is, so with D here, understand who is D. Well, let's figure it out. We've had 29 phone calls, we've had 54 emails, and we've had a couple text conversations. She's on a campaign, she was on our, we got an e-alert going, she's visited 194 properties. So we can go through and say, do we know who D is?
He's a looky-loo.
Yeah, right now, she totally is. But what about Susan over here? Right? We can talk about her. We can figure that out. And we can go through this and say, right when I get off the phone with you, or once we get off this and start going through, we're going to go active in 2 weeks. But in those 2 weeks, I hope to be able to get an offer before we even go live. Talk about a value position that you're giving to somebody, but you can do it to your database. Whether it's Boomtown or some other database, you can still do that. Okay? And I talk about how Boomtown's always growing, how many people we have in it. We had 119 showing requests in this month, and this is probably like 6 months ago. So I'm going to update this from time to time. But that's how many requests came out of our specific Boomtown. Fair enough. And I said all this activity is going to go in to sell your house. Sorry, that might have been corny. But I'm okay with that because that's who I am. Like, you know what I mean? And it's about the relationship. Like, I want to know who they are. They want to know who I am. I'm not going to be some fancy artificial individual. Like, this is who I am. Trust me, I'm going to hustle for you. Like, and when it comes to negotiations, like, yeah, every dollar matters. I'm a former teacher. I understand that. Okay, so let's get that going. Now, I said, while I'm doing all this, what do I need from you? I'm going to need a little bit of help. Okay? And again, I typically don't want to be something, but I've probably got an idea. So when I walk in, I find my office and I do my walk around, correct? To figure out what's going on. Please point out anything that you've done to upgrade. I know you talked about a couple things on the phone. Just point them out to me so I can check them out. Did you have receipts? Did you market the things yourself? I'm putting a price tag in my mind. Do I have my cell phone out when I'm doing it? Absolutely not. I'd hand paper. I do it on paper and pencil. If you have to, you can use a cell phone, but I think in this day and age, people think, who are you texting, who are you emailing? You're not engaged with what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll say, hey, can I record this conversation? Just because I want to make sure that I get all the details. I'll listen back to it, and if there's anything I missed, I want to have it here available so I can make sure I sell everything to anybody that could be coming. Right now, we're getting a lot of really good information. So I'll do that. Sometimes I'll say I'll take pictures, but I guarantee you I will not be marketing this in that way at all. I said, this is just plainly for me to have, and maybe I can shoot it out to my team to try to get some more buzz going. That's it, kind of thing. Also, I'll take pictures if they look at things where I think a lot of people are concerned about maintenance, correct? Like, I'm worried about this. and I shadow a lot of people on our team. Like, hey, I just want to see how you do it. Can I go to your listing appointment? Like, just let me know. I swear I'll be a fly on the wall. Won't say a word, and I'll do that. And as I walk around, some of the strengths and what some of our top producing agents do, anytime there's an issue or there's verbal of concern, they're like, I got it. Honestly, I don't think you have to worry about that. A couple things that I use specifically is when people are talking about what do I do? Do I paint this? Do I do that? Do I do this? Do I do that? And I said, your objective in preparing your home is to alleviate anything that would prevent somebody from making an offer. Does somebody care that the garage door might be a little off its track or a little, is that going to prevent somebody from making an offer? Probably not. They're probably not going to inspect the home to that level. It might be something that came up in inspection, but ultimately it's not going to prevent somebody from making an offer. Let's only handle things that are going to prevent somebody from making an offer. Make sure the property is clean. If it smells bad, let's get rid of the smell. Like, let's do some of those basic things, and let's keep their expenses to a minimum. I say cleaning is a big thing, but I also think decluttering, the rule that I tell them is you want to remove 2 of every 3 items. On any counter or shelf, 2 of every 3 items. Any personal picture, I don't care if it's your dog, anything, if it means your walls are completely bare, take anything down with your picture in it. So those are a couple of broad strikes that I do. Those are important, and then I give them this checklist. If you're really not sure, if you're kind of going through, it's time takes. Another thing, light will be a big thing. I said, I don't know, it looks kind of like you have 40-watt light bulbs. Let's see if we can maybe amp that up. It might be a nice $20 investment. How about professionally washing windows? Another nice investment to brighten up the environment. I try to get them anytime you're doing anything, if you have an opportunity to, when you're leaving a house, make sure you brighten up anything. And I give them this list, which is just kind of an easy checklist of things to do. I can pass that around too if you want. What else do I do? And then return on investment, bigger ideas, like big items, correct? Like, should we redo the kitchen?
Do you ever use the RPR thing?
I don't. So this is what I typically say, and because, can we guarantee?
Yeah.
I usually, if they're pushing something 2 to 3 times, I'll crunch and give them some numbers. So you can't really quote me on this, but what I would say, if you put $7 grand in your kitchen, I think you get 12 out. And I'll boom. Like, I'll throw it out exactly like that. Kind of thing, but typically what I'll say, if they're not really sure, we're not sure about what we're doing in the kitchen, I said, I understand it is a risk, like there's no guarantee on it. I said, what I typically find is when you do upgrades, it doesn't always impact your dollar value, but properties typically go off the market a lot faster. So if you're looking at, I can't guarantee money, but industry shows it's going to definitely impact your time, and time is money ultimately. So I don't know what your motivation is, but that might impact you off the fence one way or the other. And if they keep pushing on it, 7, you'll get 12. Like, depending on what it is, obviously. You put 10 in, you get 20 out, kind of thing. So I will shoot it, and I'll shoot them from the hip on it. I'll be like, boom, this is it. That's what I would say, in my professional opinion, because they're asking for your professional
Or
opinion.
sometimes if they overdo it, or it's
The
like RPR
opposite,
shows.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Right.
25 to do it, you're only gonna
I
get 14.
know, that's what
Right.
I'm getting RPR. It's
And-
like, ooh, bad and bad.
Yeah. Cut it. And I also look at it and say, all right, so what are the top things? All right, flooring, bathroom, kitchen.
Yeah,
Outside of that, don't touch a thing.
yeah.
Right, done. Also, I have a contractor list that I put in to it, and I'll go ahead and give that to you. And I go ahead and I say these are contractors that people on my team have used, so we've vetted it to a point. I haven't vetted everybody, but I also put some notes in there. There's a couple that I'm like broken English,
Oh,
not
right,
licensed.
yeah.
but I write it in there, and I will communicate that to them and say, hey, this is everybody under the sun here. Like, you have some people that are going to be some high profile, and the fit and finish is going to be awesome. And if that's what you're looking for, here you go. If you're looking to get a little budget, this is this guy.
Do you have a disclaimer on that? So you don't
I put it in there.
Yeah.
I'll put it in there. And also what I did is next level on that. A lot of people just put phone numbers, and what I started doing is breaking down price point. Like, call Home Depot, Floor Decor.
Yeah,
say,
like $1,
yes.
$2.
How much a square foot for demo? Yeah.
I haven't
Can
seen
you
it.
take a picture of this?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And email me. I can give it to you digital.
Oh.
Email me. I'll just send it
What
away.
is the price
Yeah.
point? I don't see the price point.
So front page. So down here for flooring. So I put price per square foot.
I see.
Demo.
Okay.
So I put that in there. Again, what do I want to try to do? I want to try to separate myself. Agreed? That's what I'm trying to do, is separate myself. So this is the way I separate. Everybody just gives you phone numbers. I give you price for flooring. What's your demo price per square foot? What's your tile price per square foot? That's a separate. And if I'm going to be that detail oriented on a vendor sheet, then how detailed am I going to be through your process? You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I'm trying to communicate through those things. what else? There we go. And then I create a timeline. So I recently just did this, and this might be complete and total overkill, so I apologize. Are they shutting the lights off on me? I will shut this place down. You can't stop me. I don't care. Okay. So we were talking to our team and saying the number one issue that people have within the real estate transaction is communication. Would you agree? All right, so that, well, whether you agree or not, that's what we found, okay? Just go with it. God, come on, help me out, guys. So I decided that I committed probably 2 weeks to basically creating everything under the sun to make sure communication was dialed in. This is the first one that I had. I created a timeline. Do you like that? Did that look pretty cool? I created that from scratch. There was nothing there, and I made that whole freaking thing. Sorry, don't need to toot my own horn, but honk, honk. Okay? All right, so I create that, and I put this in here. And the two things that are really, really confusing for people is that due diligence period, so I break it down here, and then closing date. How exactly does that work? What are all the pieces that go in line? So I put out those breakout boxes for it. Now, that might be overkill. Actually, I don't think that's overkill. I think that's pretty good. But then what I created is, I also created a breakdown, step-by-step template of phase by phase. So each one of these, phase, 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 phase. And I wrote it out. Now, my intent on writing this out is basically saying, I have this as a Word document, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to email this out as we go through the next phase. So after we're done with receiving offers, accepting an offer. After I do that, I'm going to go to the next phase. And I'm going to email this out as chunks. So they get a form email. I'm putting it in this packet, but they get reminded of each piece of it along the way. So again, this is me. And this is, all right, so this is an idea about how anal I am. I also decided that I was going to do a screencast audio tutorial over each phase. So I can do it this way, and then I can also give it to them as I can send it to them like as a text, a video text, that they can just listen to it on their phone as they go through if they don't like reading it.
So what is the next step? You just take that chunk.
All right, so this is a Prezi. Are you familiar with Prezi? Yep. So I built the Prezi out, and it basically, the whole freaking thing moves. If you've never seen a Prezi before, it's pretty cool, and it's like graphically, it zooms in and then it opens up to a Prezi, Prezi.com. I can show, I mean, I know we're kind of crunched on time. If you want to show me, I'll show you later if you want it, okay? But it's freaking cool, man.
Prezi.
Yep, Prezi.com. Yes, but this is mine. So you're not going to get access to it. But you could, actually. I mean, if you need it, I'll give it to you. So that's what we have there. So communication is an issue. So I have that dialed in. Other things that I look at is part of our team, what we end up doing is when we do Zillow stuff, you get the reports on the Zillow or Facebook ads and stuff like that. So I can bring samples. So every Monday, or no, every Wednesday, Thursday, we send this out to our clients for listing. It gives them an update on the activity on their property, whether it's through Zillow or for Facebook ads. And so I bring it as a sample saying, we're going to keep you up to date every single week on what's going on in the activity that's come through. So those are other concerns that I have. And this is part of my base stuff. I also have, our job is to prevent people from the roller coaster ride. That is, has anybody ever had a deal fall through? Like the buyer for some reason didn't qualify or something, like, oh my God, you shoot me in the face. Yeah, like, holy cow. How do you not know that? Like, you're like, what? Like, how did that get that far? Who did not do their job? Right. So I look at it from me, and I'm like, God, is there anything I can do? So I want to make sure if I know somebody that's super like, you know, really, really sensitive, nervous about the whole situation, I said, listen, I'm going to do the best I can, obviously, to help vet everybody that we have. Here's a list of questions that I give to the buyers and the sellers. I'm gonna ask the buyer's agent all these questions, and I'm gonna call the buyer's lender and ask all these questions too. So I'm gonna try to do my due diligence to make sure you're protected and you don't have to go through that up and down. I can only do it honestly, and I'll even tell them, like, they're really not supposed to give me answers, but it doesn't mean I can't ask. Right? If they want to give me answers, that's on them, it's not on me. But I'm serving you. My responsibility is to you, and know it, well, I'm going to be honest, right? Your responsibilities, I get it, but I'm going to still ask the freaking lender a question. Let them be the guy that screws up. So I throw that in there. Let's see. Sorry I'm bouncing around a little bit. So I set all my items of value on the right side, and then I set in my seller questionnaire, this deal, and then I also put my spuds and all my documents on the right-hand side. That's what I do. Right-hand side, left-hand side. So I have all this on one side, and I have my items of value on this side. So I kind of separate it like that. I hate going, like, if they're ready to go, I want to be ready to go. Like the first couple times, like when I first started, I didn't bring my spuds. That sucks.
Going back.
I know! That's a waste of time. All right, so, and then I put all my items of value that I think are specific to them on one side. And where do I get my items of value? They're what I deemed they needed. And I don't bring everything, I bring what they need. Okay?
Do you mail something? Do you do something online? Like most of the documents could be
Yeah.
filled online on the
So
site?
I like doing the online, but you never know who you're going to get. I also think about the demographic that I'm working with. If they're pretty tech savvy or not tech savvy, I'll be sensitive to that. If I don't feel like they're that tech savvy, I'll bring the documents and do it by hand. If they are tech savvy, I want to leave the spuds, and I'll go ahead and bring everything else. I'm trying to think. I'm going to go back to this original thing. All right, so other things that I'm looking at. So that's my broad range. So these are items of value. I bring specific, and then there's some other things. Promotion. I also bring examples of our flyers. I'll show video campaigns or open house promotions that I've done in the past. I'll bring that stuff if I think promotion's a big thing for them. If they're market analysis, and if that's something they're looking for. What else? Communication. So I talk about all those things that I talk about. I also establish communication guidelines, setting the tone for what you want or what you don't want. Actually, at this point, you can just kind of pass this around if you want. If anyone wants to see it, check it out. I set up the guidelines. So how do they like to communicate? So I'm working with some people right now. One guy loves email and his wife loves texting. Train wreck. Okay. But that just means I got to do everything to everything. But if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't asked this question, then what's going to happen? The wife or the husband's going to be pissed because they never get anything. They're going to be left out. So I know I have to do it to both. So that helps me meet their needs. Frequency, days. I also, so I have 3 small kids. I like my kids, right? Some people don't. Maybe I like my kids. I want to hang out with my kids. I like my wife. I want to hang out with her from time to time, right? So I try to set up an agent family time, protected time. And what I'll say is, hey, between, 5:30 and 7:30, I kind of use that as protected family time. That's when basically I come home, we have a family dinner at the table. I try to play with my kids, maybe walk around, and then I put them down to bed. Usually I have them in bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock. 7:30, I really hope for. And I try to do that, but then at that point, so if you're called in that time, sometimes I may not be able to answer it, but just know at 7:30 I start returning all calls that I missed during that period of time, and I make sure I go all the way through until I'm done, unless you're not comfortable getting phone calls past 10 o'clock, then I'll just wait till the next morning. You tell me what works for you. Establishing that might help people be a little more understanding about what you're doing, but then it also, I find that when you answer the phone during that 5:30 to 7:30, how much more appreciative are they? Because you framed it in a certain way to say, wow, he's even willing, the kids are screaming in the background. I'm like, sorry, can you hear me?
But does that set up expectation that they can do it all the time, though?
Well, honestly, we're on call.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, the reality is, yeah, they can do it anytime. I got a text last night at 10:47. Right, it just is what it is, and I accept it. And if they're going to text me that late, that's probably because they're really, really stressed. So if I can get back to them, I did.
So your wife
I'm horrible, right? I have no boundaries. I just give whatever. Like, I don't care.
And so your voice message doesn't say, if you call me after like 8.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
I like that.
Yeah. See, I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
I am. Which I get it, but also too, I kind of look at it, and a lot of people. So the primary is transactions. I'm going to be completely honest. My primary is trying to get this education platform going. Like, it's just starting out. I'm education. I do transactions, and the people I do transactions for, like I always have like 1 or 2 going at a time, and those people get 1,000% of me, kind of deal. That's how I kind of view it, which helps me for repeat referrals. So I always have 1 or 2 going, kind of thing. So transaction history. Also, a lot of things that I look at, and this, I don't know if this is pertinent to anybody here, but if you're a newer agent trying to start out, like, you don't have that transaction history. You don't have tons of clout. You don't have tons of things. I basically pimp out. I tell our agents, pimp out your team as much as you possibly can. Like, you don't have the transactions. We as a team, you're part of our team that's part of the whole, and that can kind of help you get over that hump, which is really, really helpful. Financial concerns, net sheets, lender questionnaire, loan information. I'll bring a loan information on different things if I think that's important or pertinent to them. Appraisal package. I think if they're pushing the market, having an appraisal package is good. Would you agree? Like, if they read and you got price target and you're like, they're pretty adamant about it, I'm like, okay, I think we're pushing it. I think you're about 40 grand over maybe I'd be comfortable going, like this is my target price, but maybe I could push it another 10, 15,000, but I think we're gonna get an appraisal issue. But this is what I'm willing to do for you. This is a sample of an appraisal package that I've done before. Another thing with appraisal package that I would highly recommend, I just had this go through and I was like, there's no way this thing's freaking appraising. And it came in, I gave a personal story about the sellers as the start. Like I did the comps, I did all that kind of stuff, adjustments that I went with it, but I made it personal.
Your appraisal package is going to the appraiser, or?
Yeah, go to the appraiser. And you drop it off to them when they're there. Like, hey, I don't want to, I just figured I'd drop off this package, looking at some things, these are what I assess the value on. Just a couple things to look over, check it out. If you need anything, reach out to me anytime you want.
Once again, the appraisal package contains what?
So I'll do comps. I'll do the comps that I looked at
Yes.
as well as an adjustment, whether I feel like it's inferior or superior. I'll do the adjustments that I made and how I justified those adjustments. If I'm looking at even like a collector street, I'm like, hey, if it's a $3,000 adjustment for because they're on a collector street, I'm throwing that out there. But I do find, or we started to find, if you put a little personal paragraph about the sellers, like I think that can sway somebody. I need $5,000, man.
Cherry on the top.
I need $5,000. Just give me $5,000. Come on, there are a couple of teachers, help them out. Like they're trying to help family. They've got to get into that place because the in-laws coming in. Help something. So I will appeal to that. I have no shame in that. And then home preparation checklist, vendor list, and then also back pocket listing. So if you need somebody and you got the guy that wants you to compete. Right? Anybody getting that competing thing? I got 3 people coming in. You're first. Set the bar.
Set the bar. Show out.
Right. Well, hopefully I can shake that out in the phone call. Because if they're shaking that out, be like, hey, I have a model-like property, competitive, top-notch, like chariot. I'm interviewing agents on Friday and Monday. I hope I can shake that out. So when I come out, I'm like, boom, 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 boom. You want me to call the guys?
Don't come.
Like he's clearly got a swagger and he's got a confidence to it. What he's trying to get out of it, here's this A, B, C, D, exhibit A, B, C, boom, 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 boom. This is the number I can get. Where do you want to go? And if you can't do that, then you got to step up your stuff to make sure you can do that confidently. Now, what if they're astronomical? They want a price and you're like, I can't go there. And I'm not comfortable doing that, we're just going to get headaches. So a couple options that I'll do is I'll say, hey, I'll set this up where I'm not comfortable doing that price, but I will do this price. But we have to have an understanding that if we go 5-10 days and we don't have that 14 showings with no offer, you're agreeable to drop it to this price. So we'll shoot it out at yours, but then you have to be agreeable here. And I don't want to shoot over the moon because then you're just gonna have a stigma about your property. But you have to have that agreement setting up into it. I'll offer to have a consultation. I won't offer to do staging, but I'm like, hey, if it helps you out a little bit, I'll make sure I throw in, why don't we get a professional stage? I'll pick up the tab on that. For us, it's about $100. I think sometimes it's not the
Staged?
not to have a stage, the consultation.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Woo! Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, 2 totally different things. So what I look at too, in that it's $100, but sometimes people need something to feel like they're winning. Like if you get there a D, they need to win that situation. Former college athletes, I find, need to win. And I will use that terminology. I'm like, you know what, I normally don't do this, but I appreciate this, and I think that we have some great opportunities here. Yep, I'll give you the free consultation. I'll pick up the tab on that. If they're looking for an extreme price point, I'll say I'll pick up the appraisal. Let's get an appraisal ahead of time so we know what we're dealing with, kind of thing. I'll say that's a $400, $500 value depending on it. And then flexible commission. If they want a target price, and I'll say I'll do a discounted commission. If you want that high price point, then I'm gonna have to put everything behind it. I better get that full commission, kind of thing. If this is a price point I'm willing to go, will I lose a deal because I wasn't willing to be flexible on a commission? No.
Yes.
No, I won't lose a deal.
No?
I won't lose a deal.
Doesn't make sense, yes.
So I won't lose a deal on it. Like if I gotta move a little bit, I will move a little bit. However, I don't like doing that, so I'm not like saying do this. I'm just saying I won't lose a deal on it unless it's just I'm not gonna go 1%. Like that's just stupid. But what I'll try to shift it is I'll try to say a dollar value. Like I look at it with my kids. If I say here's 4 quarters and here's $1, what are they gonna? Or here's 4 quarters and here's a 20. What are they gonna take? They're gonna take the 4 quarters, right? So what I'll say, and I don't need to disrespect anybody with that. Sorry if there's a seller out there. I look at it and say, you know what? I'll kick $1,000 into the deal on a $500,000 property. I'll do that because because I know that commission might. You see what I'm saying? So I try to frame it in a way that makes sense for me. Okay, so that's something I'll shake down. What else we got? So, and then it's, to me, the next thing that I have going on, so I didn't go through everything, but the next thing is closing. So when do you want to go active? How much time do you need? For me, I prefer 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks to do my pre-marketing work. You give me that 2 weeks, I think we'll get a lot of buzz going, a lot of action.